Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's not your average Josh back here for another movie review, and today I'm reviewing the new movie Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Just got to see an early screening of it on this Wednesday that I'm recording this. But before I get into my review, I do want to say if you're watching this, hit that like button, please. Any support is very much appreciated. Also, leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts on this movie or the Transformers franchise as a whole. Also, hit that subscribe button as well if this is your first time watching any of my videos, or if you're a returning viewer as well. Any support for this channel is very much appreciated. You can also follow me on TikTok and add me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this, but for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. So again, I appreciate all the support, but let's go ahead and get into this review of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. This new addition in the Transformers franchise is directed by Stephen Caple Jr., the director of Creed 2, and it also has several writing credits: Joby Harold, Darnell Metier, Josh Peters, Eric Hober, and John Hober. Or Heber, I'm not sure how you say the last name there. And this time around, during the 90s, a new faction of Transformers, the Maximals, joined the Autobots as allies in the battle for Earth. Now, from that description, I'm sure it definitely seems like a more generic, by the numbers, what most Transformers movies are as far as the plot goes. And yes, there's nothing new here with this movie in terms of the overall plot. You have the Autobots going up against the evil Transformers. I forgot their name exactly in this one, but I know Unicron is at the head of this. Not the biggest Transformers fan, you can already see right off the bat. I do like the first Transformers movie. I did like the second one, Revenge of the Fallen, pretty good. But after that, like most people, the franchise for me kind of went a little bit downhill. I thought with Bumblebee, though, as I mentioned in my out-of-theater reaction, was definitely more of a step forward for this franchise. I thought one of the huge things was the runtime with Bumblebee was the shortest, under 2 hours of any of the other Transformer movies. Sometimes it just becomes so much, like with battles going on for like 2.5 hours, that it just becomes a little bit much, a little bit sensory overload, if you will. This movie definitely followed in those steps very well. I think being the second shortest, I believe, looking into it, just a little bit over 2 hours with this movie. And I thought the pacing felt very good with this. I was very much more engaged than I usually am, especially again with the latter Transformer movies, not including, of course, Bumblebee. And I thought this movie had a good enough story to follow. Again, as a person I'm not the biggest Transformer fan, but when it's done well, I do really get a level of excitement when watching this. And there was a few times in watching this movie with some of the action scenes where I actually got some chills going on. You know, as just a movie fan, really cool moments to see. I thought all the voice acting in here, they brought in Peter Cullen back as Optimus Prime, is always great to hear his voice. Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal in this movie, kind of a little bit of a mirroring there with their characters. Optimus Primal in this movie, as they say, got the name from Optimus Prime, so you have a little bit of a mentor type quality, and they have their butting of heads in this movie, but it was some nice interactions they had. And really the Maximals overall, I thought was a really nice addition. This movie felt very fresh, and a lot of that was the fact that this was set in 1994, right smack dab in the middle of the 90s, and they really utilized a lot of the pop culture references really good in this. It never felt like they were laying the nostalgia on too thick. I actually thought it was done pretty well here with the movie references and the music references as well. Pete Davidson in this movie, I was really kind of surprised, I'm not gonna lie. I don't dislike Pete Davidson. I usually like him in a lot of the stuff he's in, but when you have a character that seems like he's strictly there for comic relief, you're a little bit worried or hesitant, or I was at least, that are the joke's gonna land. And I will say like 90 to 95% of the jokes that Pete Davidson has in this movie really worked for me. Like, his character was so awesome. Honestly, might have been low-key my favorite character in this movie. Like, he was just hitting, like the writing was really good with the lines he had in the delivery. Just really good. You definitely could hear Pete Davidson's voice, and you could tell it was him, but he was definitely playing the character Mirage really well, and he just had a really nice little chemistry going on with Anthony Ramos' character Noah. And with that, I will say Anthony Ramos was really good casting in this movie. Just from the trailers, he seemed like it would be had some nice charisma about him, and that is definitely what he had in this movie. A nice protagonist to have after having Haley Steinfeld in the Bumblebee movie, which I thought she just did such a good job having that same kind of similar charisma and the connection she had with Bumblebee. You get that here with Anthony Ramos' character Noah with Mirage, and I thought they did a really good job as well, similarly with Haley Steinfeld, of showing a little bit of his backstory and how he takes care of his younger brother. He has a health condition, and his mom was in this movie, who, by the way, Luna Lauren Velez, awesome. Just, I have to point out, to see her as in a movie back-to-back weeks. Last week she was in Across the Spider-Verse playing Rio Morales. Of course, most people are going to know. She's also playing, again, the mom of our protagonist in this movie, Noah's mom. And it's just another protagonist from Brooklyn in basically a comic book movie. You pretty much would call this. There was comics of the Transformers. It's just really cool to see that type of back-to-back weeks, the two biggest movies to open up in those weeks, and her to play the mom of the protagonist. I don't know, it was just really cool. I really like her, obviously, as Rio Morales, and I thought she was really good in here. Even though she has very, very limited screen time, especially compared to Across the Spider-Verse, it was just really awesome to see that. Peter Dinklage as Scourge in this movie, another great voice casting. Like, I actually forgot that he was even in this movie. I saw a little bit before I went to see this that he was involved with the cast, but him playing basically the major antagonist villain that our Autobots and the Maximals have to deal with in this movie, he was really good. It felt like he was playing a really nice evil voice and character. Again, I just didn't even know it was Peter Dinklage. Really good job there. Michelle Yeoh even in here as Airazor. Another one that I just didn't even notice it was her until afterwards, looking up some of the cast. And it was just a nice collection of cast here in this movie. And then, as I said, the story is definitely nothing you haven't seen before, but I thought it was done very well. You could tell they had a little bit of behind the scenes footage and whatnot before this movie started. Stephen Cable Jr. or Capel Jr., I'm not sure exactly how you say it. He definitely had some care, and he definitely has a love for Transformers. You can see that in this movie. The action is done very well, and the effects, like, there was only really maybe once or twice where I noticed consciously that, oh, that is an effect shot there. But for how much Transformers are in this movie and all the action that's going on, it was really well done. Like, I was just really engaged in the action scenes, moving around in my seat, following what was going on. So it was really nice in that way. And as I said, a few moments that gave me some chills with it as well that I wasn't expecting. And also Dominique Fishback, who is the other human who is with Noah on this journey where they have to end up going to Peru in this movie to try and get this key, this really big MacGuffin in this movie that both the Autobots and the evil motherfuckers are going after in this movie. And so you have her involved along the way. And yes, with Anthony Ramos' character Noah and Dominique Fishback's character Elena, there are moments where it's like, how do they know how to do this show right now? Like, they're on this, of course, journey with these big Transformers. And it seems like at times they do get really comfortable with the situation they're in more than would be likely in a situation like this for just two regular people who were just involved in regular life and did not know anything about Transformers and now are thrust into this situation. There's moments where your suspension of disbelief is definitely going to be tested depending on how you view these movies. And there is a moment, not going to spoil anything, but in the end with Anthony Ramos, his character Noah, where they do something with his character that I was kind of half expecting or didn't know if they were going to go the direction, and I'm still a little bit mixed on it kind of overall. Like, it was a badass moment that it created, and it definitely got him more involved in what was going on here in this big third act battle that was developing here. But at first I'm kind of like, really going that route? But in the end, I did like it, I think, mostly overall. It's still just kind of a little bit of a mixed feeling for me. It's like, they have to go in that direction. But I think, honestly, I wouldn't be as sold on it if I wasn't in on Noah, his character. Again, seeing how he took care of his brother from the beginning, his relationship he has with his mom and the family. Like, definitely, I was just really connected to his character. He felt like a real character that I was drawn to. So I accepted it, I think, a majority for that reason. And then how this ends, I thought it's a nice epic battle scene to end this movie out. The Transformers that are involved in this movie, you get all the fun you want, all the action that you would expect in this. Was really well done. Again, the pacing for me really also stood out as it didn't feel like it was too long at all. It felt like a very smooth transition from the first to the second to the third act. Very simple plot to follow. Again, nothing that's going to break your brain or anything here. And I will say also there is a mid-credit scene, like not too long after the credits start rolling. There is something that I was not expecting at all. Again, not going to spoil it, but in my theater, personally, it got a pretty big pop. Like, people were applauding for a few seconds after what happens. And I think it's pretty interesting, something I probably should have expected. But yeah, going to stop there for obviously I spoil anything. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good Transformers movie. I haven't seen Bumblebee, I don't think, maybe since it was in the theaters, and I really did enjoy that movie, as I said. So I'll have to go back and watch that, see where it compares to that. But I definitely think it is The best one for me, definitely since Revenge of the Fallen, probably since the first one in terms of like the strictly the Transformers movies. But Bumblebee, that movie, I don't know where it sits with that, but I think it's pretty close to that for me. Like, I really did have a good time with this. Again, not like a masterpiece or anything, or the greatest Transformers movie you could ever expect, but I did have a good time overall. Those few moments where our human characters do things where you're like, how did they know how to do that so quickly? Like, they're really catching on really fast here because they really need to propel the plot along. There's moments like that where you're like, okay, come on. For what this movie is, I mean, it's fucking Transformers fighting and shit. You know, you're not gonna expect, complete realism or anything like that. So I thought they did a damn good job with this. And as I mentioned already, kind of the soundtrack, it was really good. They didn't overdo it. I was kind of half thinking, are they gonna just constantly be throwing like 90s songs throughout this movie? And I thought they actually did a good job of spacing that out as well, where it didn't feel like just overload with that. So, and again, Pete Davidson, man, he might have been the standout for me. Just really almost loved his character more than I could have expected. So, really enjoyed this movie. I will probably definitely be going to see it again. I think my aunt is wanting to go see this here pretty soon. So, yeah, definitely a positive review overall. But that's my main thoughts. I'm going to give Transformers Rise of the Beasts an 8 out of 10. Really surprised, really happy that this movie turned out so well for me personally. They built momentum off what they did in Bumblebee. I've heard some people say, and I probably maybe would have liked more to have just a straight up Bumblebee sequel, which this kind of, it wasn't, but it is connected in a way. There's a few moments where they kind of reference Haley Steinfeld's character in a way. So it would be interesting to see in the next film, especially what they do. Again, not going to spoil it in the mid-credit scene, how they're going to maybe connect all this and yeah, we'll see how that works out. But what do you guys think? Are you planning on seeing this movie? Do you not give a shit? Are you just over the Transformers franchise? Were you never a fan to begin with? Or are you a diehard fan? Maybe you watched the cartoons way back in the 80s and 90s. What do you think? Whatever it is, leave a comment down below. And also hit that like button, please, if you enjoyed this video. Any support is very much appreciated. Also hit that subscribe button as well if this is your first time watching any of my videos. Or if you're a returning viewer as well, you can also follow me on TikTok and add me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this. But for the most part, my content will be here, as always, on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. So again, I appreciate all the support. Be looking for more videos very soon. I am still working on my Across the Spider-Verse video that should be out by the time you're seeing this, if you're watching this. Long spoiler review for that. It's taking me a minute to edit that, but I really enjoyed that movie. But there's going to be a lot more videos coming, plenty of movies coming out this month. I'm also going to be starting my Indiana Jones movie review series here, leading up to the new Dial of Destiny Indiana Jones movie coming out at the end of the month. Be looking for that very soon, and I will talk to you guys later.